right, everyone. Welcome back to our first interview of 2024. Alex Goldman and Josh Beachart from the stands here, joined very luckily this morning by Martin Nguyen ahead of his showdown with Garry Tonon on 1FC. Firstly, Martin, how you doing this morning, man?
Good, man. Good. Training's been well. Everything's been well here in Florida. First interview of 2024. I feel honored. My guys.
Exactly. We had to start the year off with a bang. So, look, man. The first question I have for you, I want to get straight into it. You had your first professional fight here in Australia back in 2012, and I'm curious. Do you have any desire to come back and fight in Australia to see how much the scene has changed, or do you sort of enjoy the excitement and the adventure of fighting overseas?
Look, the one blessed thing about fighting overseas is the travel. Getting to travel and seeing the world. It kind of humbles you in a way. But fighting on Australian soil is one thing I must do before I hang up the gloves. And I'm hoping. I mean, we've been saying it for years, but I'm hoping one championship can come back home and I can put on a show for the Australian fans.
Definitely. Martin, before we get into your fight against Garry, I just wanted to know, I know Tang versus Tan Le 2 has been announced for March 1st. I guess you're a guy that has faced Tan before. I just want to know how you sort of view that rematch and if sort of how you see that outcome playing. I know Tang obviously got the win in the first match, and I just want to know how you see that rematch playing out, as I think your name is going to be a pretty pivotal point in whoever wins that fight faces next if you can beat Garry.
Yeah, definitely. Look, that fight is it's an awesome fight. It's a fight that has to happen. Tan Lee came in that first fight very frustrated for something. He had a chip on his shoulder. I wanted to try to try to force a knockout, which wasn't going to happen. These Chinese guys got hard heads and good jaws. So, no, Tank came in and he done the right thing, made it a boring fight. Pivotal point in that fight was we just kind of just laid back and let Tan Lee do all the work running into his punches, and he ultimately done what it needed to be done to get that title. How the second fight is going to play out, I feel that Tan Lee is going to come in much smarter, not as frustrated as what he was the first time. Obviously, he's trying to look for the KO, but try not to just force it. Whatnot. Tenkai has been out for over 12 months. Not to say that he hasn't been training, but still, I feel that ring rust might be there. But yeah, for me, who I'd like to see fellow Vietnamese people succeed, and I want Tan Le to win. I want myself to win and give the fans what they want in that rematch,
Yeah, for sure. So, Martin, I'm curious, is this the best that the featherweight division has ever been in 1FC? You have talent such as yourself, Tan Le, Tang Kai, Ilya Fremenov. It's arguably the most stacked division in one today. And, I'm curious, how does that motivate you to push yourself harder in training, knowing that you have such a stacked division of, high-level fighters?
Yeah, so I feel that one championship, the featherweight division is the most dangerous, is the most stacked, and the most talented division. Having myself in that mix, I feel that I feel honored, but in a way, I don't need to prove or I don't have to prove anything. I just got to make sure that I have full trust in my team to prepare me well against all these guys who deem themselves the best in the world, and go in there. I have years and years of experience under my belt now, fighting at the top. Since I've been thrown into the wolves at one championship, I haven't fought no one easy at all. I see a lot of people getting easy fights and easy paydays. For me, from the start till even now, I've fought everyone that's been on winning streaks, had been undefeated, had been deemed the next big thing, and I prevailed at most, and fell short at some. But you know what? I have full trust in my team to prepare me for whatever any of these fighters produce.
Definitely. Martin, obviously being in the featherweight division, you have fought at lightweight before as well. I just want to know, as the path sort of heads towards a featherweight title shot, with this fight against Garry Tonon and some big implications coming from it, is there a chance that you still want to fight at lightweight one day?
Hell no. Those guys are huge, man. I don't know. Oh, dude. I went into that lightweight fight, obviously opportunities arise and you just take whatever's given, if don't look at these opportunities and you just let it pass you by, then you don't have a chance of making history. But I went into that fight fighting Edward Folayang. I weighed in at 71 kilos, dude. And my
Wow.
opponent, I spoke to him because we were mates. He said on fight day he was 79 kilos. Facing off against him, I had like the same similarity in height, and I was like, oh man, this guy's not even that much bigger than me.
Yeah.
But dude, when I watched the fight over, I was like, man, you're punch drunk, man. Like, shit, look at the size of his legs. They're like
Yeah.
the size of both of your legs together. And you know what? When he started kicking me, obviously I was feeling it too. So, look, in a way, it's bittersweet, but because I got to make history. But that division, I kind of have to stay in my lane.
Yeah, for sure. So, Martin, the next question for me is, you're someone that's, been in the game for a while now. And, I'm curious, is it harder to prepare for someone who is a specialist in one area, or is it harder to prepare for someone who's a bit more well-rounded? Because obviously, sort of both approaches have, their pros and cons.
Definitely. Look, I feel that it's touche to say, but it's kind of easier to prepare for someone that's more well-rounded, because this is what we do as a sport. We have to prepare for the worst case scenario, and whatever positions we get in and wherever the fight may go, we're always ready. I feel that it's much harder to prepare for someone that's like a one-trick pony. Yes, they are a one-trick pony, but they're very, very good at that. So they have. So say for instance my opponent Garry Tonon, he's a very, very good grappler. No matter how much grappling I do, I'm not going to be able to be compared to him in the grappling scene. I just need to do whatever I need to do to prevent his grappling from excelling in the fight, and then taking over the fight through my fight experience and my striking from there.
Yeah, definitely. And sort of on Garry, Martin, obviously he's, won his last two after his loss to Tan Lee a little while ago. And I guess, how do you view Garry as an opponent heading into this fight against him? Obviously, it's going to be a big fight between the two of you guys. How do you view him as an opponent, and what sort of strengths do you think you can play to sort of get that victory over Garry?
Yeah, so fighting Garry Tonon, giving him all props and respect. He's good at what he does. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. Um, you know what? He deserves to be in that top 5 in this division. He's pretty talented, and he's done what he needed to do to get the right fights to get closer to that rematch. And so for me, fighting someone like Garry, this fight was meant to happen last year in November. And I said it to him, and I said it like vocally as well. The longer you leave this fight, the better I'm gonna get, and the better I'm gonna get, the more harder the fight is gonna be for you. Because obviously his game is his leg lock game and his jiu-jitsu game. I've had now 2 camps in a row focusing on anti-jiu-jitsu and anti-wrestling, and so now it's from the first 6-week fight camp that I had, I wasn't as stable as what I am now. Sorry, preparing for him. So it's definitely going to be a much harder fight for him come fight night as well. I'm not saying that it's going to be an easy fight for me as well, because I'm sure he's been preparing as well. But I feel that you can't beat experience.
Yeah,
And so
for sure.
we'll go from there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Martin, last couple of questions from us. Last one from me, anyways. As someone that you say you've got the fight experience, I'm curious, what's sort of the biggest difference in how you mentally approach your fights, today compared to when you first started or when you were early in your pro career?
I can even mentally, this whole fight game is all mental, man. It's like we train every single day, twice a day, all year round. Even when it comes through to like holiday occasions, we're always training as fighters, to get better and to be better. I feel that 80-90% of this fight journey is all mental. You just got to have the right particular focus for right particular goals, and like, as I said, the right particular focus. And I hold myself accountable. The times that I did lose, not to blame myself or take props away from my opponents, but my focus was not there. even up to the most recent fights, my focus was not there, and I really had to take a seat back and be like, look, dude, let's be honest, we're on our last legs throughout this MMA career. I don't want to be a 40-year-old getting knocked out for a paycheck, you know. I want to be able to be there for my family, and so I'm giving myself one last shot to get to the top and regain the title and sail off into the sunset. Mentally, how I prepare for that is, you know, just refocusing what are my main goals of doing this. Obviously, is to get that title back. Why am I doing it? My legacy and for my family. And I had to kind of refocus all that and not revamp, but just make sure that I'm on point when it comes to mindset when it comes into the fights.
Definitely. Martin, last question from me, man. Like Alex spoke about before, you know, about the returning to Australia. I know your first few fights were in Australia and you know, well over a decade ago now. I guess, how have you seen the growth of Australian MMA over the course of that period since you you know, began and had your first fight in Nowra, you know, all those years ago? How have you seen the sport evolve in Australia? Because obviously, you know, there's a guy, Tom Nolan, who's debuting this weekend. We've had many guys come through to the UFC and to ONE and to PFL and all these other organisations. But how have you seen the growth of Australian MMA since it started when you were beginning?
You know, we have a lot of pioneers in Australia. I wouldn't consider myself a pioneer, but the likes of the Tahuna brothers, to Whitaker, to Mark Hunt, or all these guys like George Sideropoulos, man, all these guys had paved the way for us Australians. From me, when I first started in this whole sport as well, fighting in, you know, a local show, the most biggest underdog area in my whole life, going to Nowra, not even seeing one coloured person around it, all one, all Aussie supporting my opponent, and you know, I've never been the biggest underdog in my life, but how that's changed to now, it's you obviously have your backyard support of, you know, the locals, but you know, the Australians have now become more well aware of the sport, and they've become much more appreciative of it instead of it just being barbaric and, you know, your old backyard scrap or your old pub scrap. You know, the likes of, not many people know, but I fought Jamie Malaki as well. Man, like that guy is killing it now in the UFC, and the likes of Kulabau coming through the ranks. With it, Jack Jenkins, you got Tom Nolan, big train starting in the UFC as well. What is that? Steve Urquig as well, the flyweight division. Man, like all these guys coming through the ranks that have been underground but have been on the scene for a minute now. Those guys are coming through, and you know what? For me to be able to be considered like part of the Australian pioneers of like starting and making it somewhere in this sport, it's just an honor, you know.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, man, you definitely are a pioneer in the sport. You don't give yourself the credit, but I'll tell you straight up, mate, you're a pioneer, and you are a part of the pack like Soteropoulos and Tahuna and those guys, because you did begin your career in a time where it wasn't that popular in Australia, and it was sort of just gaining its legs. So, mate, all the best in lead up to your preparation against Garry Tonon. We wish you all the best, mate. We hope you win and get that shot. And we'd love to definitely talk to you again down the line, mate.
For sure. Thanks, guys, for having me on, man. First one of the year, all day.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Martin. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
Take care, guys.